The message came on a Tuesday. Admiral Taiho was standing on the observation deck of the orbital station New Seoul when his communicator beeped. He looked at the screen, and his face became hard like stone. The Varick Dominion had found humanity. For 300 years, the Dominion had ruled this part of the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of species. They had burned worlds and enslaved billions. And now, they had sent a message to Earth. The message was simple: surrender or die. Taiho was an old man. He had gray hair and deep lines on his face. He had fought in 3 wars and had buried too many friends. But he had never felt fear like this before. The Dominion had 500 times more ships than humanity. They had weapons that could crack planets in half. They had armies that numbered in the trillions, and they wanted Earth to kneel. Captain Yuna walked up to him. She was young, maybe 30 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes. She held a tablet in her hands. "Admiral," she said, "the Council is waiting for your response." Taiho did not look at her. He was staring at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, the Dominion fleet was preparing to move. "What do you think we should do, Captain?" he asked. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I think we should fight." Taiho finally smiled. It was a small smile, tired but proud. "That is what I think too." On Earth, General Minho stood before the Unified Council. The room was full of leaders from every nation. They all looked scared. Minho understood their fear. He felt it too. But he had learned long ago that fear was just a feeling. It could not stop him from doing what was right. "They want us to surrender," Minho said. His voice was calm and strong. "They say they will kill us all if we refuse. They have done this to many species before us. They think we are weak. They think we are like the others." He paused and looked at every face in the room. "They are wrong." Minho pressed a button and a hologram appeared. It showed Earth's history: wars, plagues, disasters, climate collapse, asteroid strikes. Again and again, humanity had faced death. And again, humanity had survived. "We have been fighting since the beginning," Minho said. "We fight each other. We fight nature. We fight death itself. This is who we are. This is what we do. The Dominion has never met a species like us. They have conquered races that gave up when things got hard. But we are human. We do not give up. We do not surrender. We do not die quietly." The Council voted. The result was unanimous. Humanity would fight. Ambassador Subin was a small woman with a gentle face. She did not look like a warrior. She looked like someone's grandmother. But when she stood before the Dominion envoy, her eyes were like fire. The envoy was a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms. He looked down at Subin with disgust. "Your answer?" he demanded. Subin smiled sweetly. Then she spoke one word. "No." The envoy stared at her. For a moment, he could not believe what he had heard. No species had ever refused the Dominion. "Not in 1,000 years. You will die," he said. "All of you. Every man, woman, and child. We will burn your worlds and erase your name from history." Subin did not blink. "Many have tried. We are still here." The envoy left. 3 days later, the Dominion attacked. The colony world of Jinhae 4 was a peaceful place. It had green forests and blue oceans. 50,000 people lived there. They were farmers and scientists and families. Lieutenant Jiho was 22 years old. He had joined the military because he wanted to protect people. He had never seen real combat before. He was stationed at a small outpost on the edge of the colony when the Dominion ships appeared in the sky. Jiho felt his heart stop. There were hundreds of them. They blotted out the sun. They were massive, each one bigger than a city. And they were firing. The first blast hit the capital. Jiho watched as a beam of light struck the ground and everything disappeared. Buildings, people, everything. Gone in a flash of fire. Jiho ran. He gathered everyone he could find. Civilians, soldiers, children. He put them on transport ships. He told them to fly and not look back. "What about you?" a young girl asked him. She was maybe 10 years old, with tears on her face. Jiho smiled at her. "I will be right behind you. I promise." He lied. He knew he was probably going to die, but he also knew that someone had to stay and buy time. Someone had to fight. Jiho picked up his weapon and turned to face the enemy. The Dominion ground forces landed an hour later. They expected to find a defeated colony waiting to surrender. Instead, they found Jiho and 47 other soldiers waiting for them. The battle lasted 6 hours. Jiho and his soldiers killed over 200 Dominion troops before they were forced to retreat. They escaped on the last transport ship, wounded but alive. As the ship flew away from Jinhafor, Jiho looked back at the burning world. He made a promise to himself. He would make them pay for this. Back on the Dominion command ship, War Marshal Koth reviewed the battle reports. He was a massive creature with thick armor and cold eyes. He had conquered 100 worlds. This should have been easy, but something was wrong. The humans had fought harder than any species he had ever seen. They did not run. They did not beg. They just kept fighting until they could not fight anymore. Advisor Thalos, an ancient being with wrinkled skin and wise eyes, stood beside him. Marshal Thalos said quietly, "I have studied these humans. They are different. They have a word in their language. It is called spite. It means they will hurt themselves just to hurt their enemy." "Be careful," Koth laughed. "They are primitives. They will learn to fear us." Thalos shook his head slowly. "Or we will learn to fear them." The war had begun. 6 months had passed since the war began. The Dominion had taken 3 human colony worlds, but the price they paid was beyond anything they had expected. War Marshal Koth stood in his dark chamber, staring at the reports on his screen. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. For every human ship they destroyed, the Dominion lost 12. This was not possible. The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be primitive. Their technology was 100 years behind the Dominion. Their fleet was tiny. Their worlds were few, and yet they were winning. Koth threw the tablet across the room. It smashed against the wall. Advisor Thalos entered the chamber quietly. He had seen Koth angry before, but never like this, Marshal Thalos said carefully. "The Overlord demands an update." "Tell him the truth," Koth growled. "Tell him these humans fight like demons. Tell him they do not retreat. They do not negotiate. When their ships run out of ammunition, they ram our vessels. When their soldiers run out of bullets, they use knives. When they run out of knives, they use their bare hands." Thalos nodded slowly. "I warned you, Marshal. These creatures are different. They evolved on a death world. Everything on their planet tried to kill them. They survived by being more stubborn than death itself." Koth slammed his fist on the table. "Then we will kill them all." On the frozen moon of Europa, deep beneath the ice, Dr. Hannah worked in silence. She was a small woman with tired eyes and messy hair. She had not slept in 3 days. She had not eaten in 2, but she was close. So close. Project Horizon was almost complete. The weapon she was building was not meant to destroy ships or kill soldiers. It was meant to do something far more powerful. It could collapse hyperspace lanes. It could seal off entire sections of the galaxy. With this weapon, humanity could close the door on the Dominion forever. Or they could use it as a threat. Hannah looked at her creation and felt a mix of pride and fear. She had built something that could change the galaxy. She hoped they would never have to use it in the void of space. Captain Yuna led her squadron toward certain death. The target was a Dominion carrier group, 15 massive ships. Each one carried thousands of fighters and troops. If those ships reached Earth, the war would be over. Yuna had 50 ships. 50 against 1,500, she smiled. "All ships," she said into her communicator. "This is Captain Yuna. Today we do the impossible. Today we show them what humans are made of. Follow my lead. And remember, we do not die for nothing. We die so that others may live." Her squadron flew straight into the enemy formation. The Dominion did not understand what was happening. No sane species would attack with such small numbers. It had to be a mistake. It was not a mistake. Una had spent weeks studying the Dominion. She knew their tactics. She knew their weaknesses. And she knew exactly where to hit them. Her ships flew between the massive carriers, too fast and too small to hit. They planted explosives on the enemy hulls. They fired missiles into engine ports. They caused chaos and confusion, and then Una gave the order. All ships, activate self-destruct sequences. Ram the command ship. Half of her squadron obeyed without hesitation. They turned their ships toward the Dominion command vessel and flew straight into it. The explosions tore the ship apart. When the battle was over, the Dominion had lost all 15 carriers. Una had lost 30 ships, but she and 20 of her pilots survived. They limped back to friendly space as heroes. On the burning ruins of the colony world, Dega 7, Lieutenant Jiho stood alone. His unit was dead. His ship was destroyed. He had one rifle with half a clip of ammunition, and there were 100 Dominion soldiers advancing on his position. Jiho did not run. He found a destroyed building and made it his fortress. He used the rubble as cover. He set traps with broken wires and fallen debris. He waited in the shadows like a ghost. When the Dominion soldiers came, he killed them one by one. The battle lasted 18 hours. By the end, Jiho had killed 63 enemies. His body was covered in wounds. He had 3 broken ribs and a bullet in his shoulder. But he was still standing when the rescue ship finally arrived. The medic who found him could not believe he was alive. "How?" the medic asked. "How did you survive?" Jiho coughed blood and smiled weakly. "I was too angry to die." Word of Jiho's. Stands spread through the human fleet. Soldiers told his story around fires. Pilots painted his name on their ships. He became a symbol. A reminder that one human could hold the line against an army. Overlord Varric sat on his throne of bones and listened to the reports. He was ancient. He had ruled the Dominion for 1,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had crushed rebellions and conquered galaxies, but he had never seen anything like this. "They are insects," he said slowly. "Why can we not crush them?" Advisor Thalas bowed low. "My lord, these humans have a quality we have not encountered before. They call it hope. Even when they are losing, they believe they can win. Even when they are dying, they believe their sacrifice matters. This makes them unpredictable, dangerous." Varric was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "They send the Grand Armada, 10,000 ships. I want Earth turned to ash. I want every human dead. I want their name erased from the stars." Thalas felt cold fear in his heart. "My lord, is that wise? If we commit our full force, do it." Varric roared. "I will not be defied by primitives." The order was given. The Grand Armada began to move. General Minho received the news on a quiet morning. He was drinking tea in his office when his aide rushed in with the report. 10,000 ships. Heading for Earth, Myth set down his tea. His hand did not shake. His face did not change. "How long?" he asked. 2 months, sir?" Minho nodded. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the blue sky and the green hills of Korea. Children were playing in a park. Birds were singing in the trees. He would protect this, no matter the cost. "Call Admiral Taiho," he said. "Call Captain Yuna. Call everyone. We have 2 months to prepare for the end of the world." He paused and looked at the sky one more time, and tell Dr. Hannah to finish her weapon. "We are going to need it." The final battle was coming, and humanity would be ready. The order went out to every human ship in the galaxy. "Come home." Admiral Taiho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the horizon's edge, and watched as the fleet gathered. Ships came from every corner of human space. Battleships and frigates. Carriers and destroyers. Old vessels that should have been retired years ago. New ships that had just left the factory, 800 ships in total. It was everything humanity had, Captain. Una walked up beside him. She had new scars on her face from the last battle. Her eyes were tired but still sharp. "It does not look like much," she said quietly. Tahoe nodded. "No, it does not. But those are the same ships that killed 10,000 Dominion soldiers at Busan Station. The same pilots who destroyed a carrier group with 50 fighters. The same people who have refused to die for 6 months." He turned to look at her. "Numbers do not win wars, Captain. Will does. And we have more will than they could ever imagine." On Europa, Dr. Hannah put the final piece into place. Project Horizon was complete. She stepped back and looked at her creation. It was a device the size of a small room, covered in wires and glowing with strange energy. It could do things that science said were impossible. It could tear holes in space. It could collapse the pathways between stars. It could trap an entire civilization in their own territory forever. General Minho arrived an hour later. He walked around the device slowly, studying it with careful eyes. "Will it work?" he asked. Hannah nodded. "Yes. But there is something you should know. This is not just a wall. It is a weapon. If we increase the power, we can do more than block hyperspace lanes. We can destroy them. We can collapse stars. We can break the very fabric of space." Minho was quiet for a long time. "You've built a galaxy killer." "I built a last resort," Hannah said. Her voice was heavy. "If we cannot stop them, we can make sure they never threaten anyone again." Minho put his hand on her shoulder. "Let us hope we never have to use it." Ambassador Subin sat in front of a camera. Behind her was the flag of Earth. She took a deep breath and began to speak. Her message was broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. Every species, every world, every ship with a receiver. "My name is Subin, and I speak for the people of Earth. In 2 months, the Dominion will send their grand armada to destroy our world. They believe we are weak. They believe we will fall. They are wrong." She leaned forward, her gentle face becoming hard. "We are human. We have survived ice ages and plagues. We have survived wars and famines. We have survived the death of our own sun and found new homes among the stars. We do not surrender. We do not kneel. And we do not forgive those who try to destroy us." Her voice became soft again, almost sad. "The other species of the galaxy, I say this, watch what happens. Watch what we do to those who attack our home. And remember it. Because if you ever think about threatening humanity, you will face the same fate." She stood up. "To the Dominion. I say this, you should have left us alone." The message ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the recording. Some laughed. Others were curious. But a few, the wise ones, felt a chill run down their spines. They had seen that look in human eyes before. It was the look of a species that had nothing left to lose. On the Dominion command ship, Advisor Thalys watched the message with growing fear. He had studied humans for months. He had read their history. He had analyzed their battles. And he had come to a terrible conclusion. The Dominion could not win this war. Oh, they could destroy Earth. They could kill every human. But the cost would be catastrophic. The humans would take half the armada with them, maybe more. And the other conquered species, the ones who had given up hope long ago, they were watching. If they saw humans hurt the Dominion this badly, rebellions would spread like fire. Thalys made a decision. He sent a secret message to Admiral Tahoe. It was a simple warning. End this war before it is too late for both our peoples. Tahoe received the message and read it carefully. Then he deleted it. There would be no peace. Not anymore. The Dominion had attacked their colonies. They had killed their people. They had tried to make humanity kneel. Now they would pay. In a training facility on Earth's moon, Captain Yunus stood before a room of young pilots. Among them was Lieutenant Jiho. His wounds had healed, but he walked with a slight limp now. It would never fully go away. "In 2 months, the enemy will come," Yunus said. "They will have 10,000 ships. We will have 800. They will expect us to run, to beg for mercy." She smiled grimly. "We will do none of those things." She walked among the pilots, looking each one in the eye. You will fly into the heart of their fleet. You will fire until your weapons are empty. You will ram their ships if you must. Many of you will die. I will not lie about that. But your deaths will mean something. Every enemy you kill is one less that threatens your family. Your friends? Your world? She stopped in front of Jiho. We are not fighting to win. We are fighting so they never forget what happens when you attack humanity. Jiho met her eyes. I understand, Captain. Yuna nodded. Good. Because after this battle, win or lose, no species in the galaxy will ever look at humans the same way again. The weeks passed quickly. Earth prepared for the storm. General Minho turned the entire solar system into a fortress. Thousands of defense platforms were built in orbit. Millions of mines were scattered throughout the asteroid belt. Every moon was armed. Every satellite was WEAPONIZED. If the Dominion wanted Earth, it would have to bleed for every inch of space. Admiral Tai-Ho positioned his fleet at the edge of the solar system. He knew they could not stop the Armada, but they could hurt them. They could make them pay. Dr. Hannah placed her devices throughout the hyperspace lanes. With one command, she could seal off Earth from the rest of the galaxy forever. Ambassador Subin sent one final message to the Dominion. It was short. We are waiting, and then. On a cold morning, the sensors detected the enemy. 10,000 ships. They filled the sky like a cloud of death. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. Their formations stretched for millions of kilometers. The Grand Armada had arrived. Admiral Tai-Ho stood on his bridge and looked at the enemy fleet. His hands were steady. His heart was calm. All ships, he said into his communicator. This is Admiral Tai-Ho. The enemy is here. They think they have come to watch us die. He smiled. Us disappoint them. The final battle for Earth had begun. The battle began at Neptune, Admiral. Tai-Ho had positioned his fleet behind the gas. Giant's largest moon? The Dominion could not see them. They thought they were clever, using the planet's gravity to slingshot their ships toward Earth. They were wrong. All ships, Fire Tai-Ho said calmly. 800 human vessels opened fire at once. Missiles flew through the darkness. Lasers carved through enemy holes. Bombs that had been hidden in the asteroid field exploded, tearing apart Dominion warships in the first 5 minutes. Humanity destroyed 300 enemy ships. War Marshal Koth roared in fury aboard his command vessel. This was not possible. The humans should have been hiding. They should have been defending Earth. Instead, they were attacking. Kill them. Koth screamed. Kill them all. The Dominion fleet turned to engage. Their numbers were overwhelming. For every ship they lost, they had 100 more. They began to push forward, crushing human vessels beneath waves of fire. But the humans did not run. Captain. Yuna flew her squadron into the heart of the enemy formation. Her ship twisted and spun through the chaos. Enemy fire missed her by meters. Explosions bloomed around her like deadly flowers. Squadron 7, follow me, she ordered. We are going to hit their command ships. Her pilots obeyed without hesitation. They knew they were flying toward death. But they also knew their sacrifice would save lives. Yuna found a gap in the Dominion formation. She led her ships through it, dodging fire and debris. Ahead, she could see the massive carriers that controlled the enemy fleet. All ships target the bridge sections. Fire everything. The carriers tried to dodge, but they were too big, too slow. Missiles slammed into their bridges. Explosions tore through their command centers. 7 Dominion carriers died in seconds. Yuna pulled her ship away, as the enemy formation fell into confusion. Her squadron had lost 8 ships. 12 pilots dead. But they had done their job. The enemy could not coordinate their attack anymore on the Dominion flagship. Advisor Thalos watched the battle with growing horror. This was not conquest. This was slaughter. But it was not the humans being slaughtered. Every trick the Dominion tried, the humans had a counter. When they sent fighters, the humans had traps waiting. When they tried to flank, they ran into minefields. When they pushed forward, human ships appeared behind them and attacked from the rear. It was like the humans had been preparing for this battle their entire lives. Marshathala said urgently. We need to retreat. We are losing too many ships. Koth turned on him with fury in his eyes. Retreat? Never? We are the Dominion. We do not retreat. We are dying. Thalas shouted back. Look at the numbers. We have lost 3,000 ships. 3,000. And we have not even reached Earth. Koth grabbed Thalas by the throat and lifted him off the ground. One more word, and I will kill you myself. He threw Thalas aside and turned back to the battle. All ships, continue the advance. Do not stop until Earth burns. Lieutenant Geo flew a small fighter through the chaos of war. All around him, ships were exploding. Human and Dominion vessels alike were dying in the void. His mission was simple, but almost impossible. He had to get aboard the Dominion flagship and disable its shields. Without shields, the flagship would be vulnerable. Admiral Taiho could destroy it with a single strike. Jiho dodged enemy fire with skills he did not know he had. Fear and adrenaline sharpened his senses. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. He found an opening in the flagship's defenses. A small gap in their fighter screen. He aimed his ship at a landing bay and accelerated. Here goes nothing, he muttered. His ship crashed into the landing bay and skidded across the floor. Jiho jumped out before it exploded. He rolled behind cover as Dominion soldiers opened fire. He was alone. One human against thousands. Jiho smiled grimly and pulled out his rifle. Time to go to work. The battle raged for hours. Earth's orbit filled with fire and death. General Minho commanded the orbital defense platforms from his bunker. Sweat dripped down his face as he watched the enemy approach. The Dominion had lost 5,000 ships. Half their armada was gone, but they kept coming. They pushed through the asteroid belt. They fought through the minefields. They were getting closer. All platforms, fire at will, Minho ordered. Do not let them reach the atmosphere. Thousands of weapons opened fire at once. The sky lit up like daylight. Dominion ships exploded by the hundreds. But still they came. Minho knew they could not hold forever. But every minute they bought was another minute for Earth. Inside the Dominion flagship, Jiho was wounded and running out of ammunition. He had killed dozens of enemies. But there were always more. He found the shield generator room. It was guarded by 20 soldiers. Jiho had 3 bullets left. He took a deep breath, said a quick prayer, and charged. He shot 3 guards before they could react. Then he threw his empty rifle at a 4th. He grabbed a fallen enemy's weapon and kept firing. Enemies fell around him. Pain exploded in his side as a bullet hit him. He did not stop. When the last guard fell, Gio was barely standing. Blood covered his uniform. His vision was blurring, but he reached the shield generator. He planted the explosive charge. He pressed the button. The explosion ripped through the ship, on the bridge of the horizon's edge. Captain Yuna saw the flagship's shields go down. Admiral, she shouted, the shields are down. Jiho did it. Taiho did not hesitate. All ships, target that flagship. Everything we have. But before they could fire, War Marshal Koth made his move. His flagship turned and accelerated straight toward the horizon's edge. Koth's voice came through the communicator. If I die today, human, you die with me. Taiho looked at the massive ship coming toward him. His crew was screaming. His officers were panicking. There was no time to dodge, but Taiho was calm. Ramming speed, he said quietly. The horizon's edge accelerated. 2 ships, each representing the pride of their civilization, flew toward each other in a final collision. Taiho closed his eyes. The impact was cataclysmic. Both ships shattered. Debris spread across thousands of kilometers. Fire bloomed in the void like a terrible flower. When the light faded, nothing remained of either vessel. But Koth was dead. And without their war marshal, the Dominion fleet began to crumble. Captain Yuna took command. All ships pressed the attack. Do not give them time to recover. The human fleet surged forward. They had lost hundreds of ships. Admiral Taiho was gone, but they were still fighting. The Dominion, for the first time in their history, began to retreat. But Overlord Varric was watching from his command station, far from the battle, and he was not finished. "Activate the planet killer," he ordered. His voice was cold. "If I cannot have Earth, no one will." Deep in the Dominion formation, a massive weapon began to charge. It glowed with terrible energy. In 2 hours, it would fire, and Earth would die. Dr. Hannah saw the planet killer charging on her sensors. Her blood ran cold. 2 hours. That was all the time they had. She immediately contacted General Minho. Her voice was shaking. "General, they have activated a weapon. It is aimed at Earth. If it fires, everything dies. Everything." Minho closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his face was hard. "Then we use Project Horizon," he said. Hannah nodded. Her hands trembled as she prepared the device. She had hoped they would never need it. She had prayed the war would end before this moment, but prayers do not. Stop Weapons Ambassador Subin understood what was happening. She made a decision. If humanity was going to reveal its final card, the whole galaxy would watch. She opened a broadcast channel. Not just to the Dominion, but to every species, every world, every corner of the galaxy. "Overlord Varric," she said calmly, "I know you are watching. I know you think you have one. Allow me to show you how wrong you are." On his command station, Varric watched the transmission with amusement. The human female thought she could threaten him. His planet killer would fire in less than 2 hours. What could they possibly do? Then he saw something that made his ancient heart stop. Admiral Taiho appeared on the screen. He was wounded. His uniform was torn and burned. Blood covered his face. But he was alive. Rescue ships had pulled him from the wreckage of the Horizon's Edge moments before it exploded. He had survived what should have been certain death, because that is what humans do. "Overlord Varrock," Taiho said. His voice was calm but filled with steel. "You came to our home. You killed our people. You thought you could break us. Now let me show you what happens when you push humanity too far." He gave a signal. On Europa, Dr. Hannah activated Project Horizon. A single pulse of energy shot out from the device. It crossed the void of space faster than light. It hit a Dominion cruiser that was holding position near the edge of the battle. The ship did not explode. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next, it was nothing but scattered atoms spreading across space. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Advisor. Thalos felt true terror for the first time in his long life. He understood what he was seeing. The humans had created a weapon that could erase anything from existence. Ships, stations, planets, stars. They could destroy anything they wanted. "My lord," Thalos said urgently, "we must stand down now." Varric's face was twisted with rage and fear. "You dare give me orders? They can kill us all." Thalos shouted, "Look at what they did. They can scale that weapon up. They can destroy our worlds. They can collapse our hyperspace lanes and trap us in our own territory forever." General Minho stepped into the broadcast now. His voice was like ice. "Overlord, this is General Minho of Earth's Defense Council. What you just witnessed was a demonstration at 1% power. Our devices are already placed throughout Dominion territory, in your hyperspace lanes, near your colonies, around your throne world." He leaned forward. "If your weapon fires, we will use Project Horizon at full power. We will destroy every hyperspace lane in Dominion space. Your empire will be cut off from itself. Your worlds will be isolated. Your civilization will collapse within a generation." Varric's hands were shaking now. He had conquered hundreds of species. He had never been threatened like this. Captain Yuna delivered the terms. Her voice was cold and final. "Here are humanity's demands. Deactivate your weapon. Withdraw your fleet from our space. Never return. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." Silence filled the galaxy. Every species watched. Every leader held their breath. The fate of civilizations hung on Varrock's next words. In a medical bay on a human ship, Lieutenant Jiho opened his eyes. He was wrapped in bandages. Machines beeped around him. A nurse stood nearby, watching the broadcast on a screen. "What is happening?" Jiho asked weakly. The nurse looked at him with tears in her eyes. "We are winning." Varrock stared at the screen. His mind raced through options. He could call their bluff. He could fire the planet killer and hope they were lying, but he saw the look in Taiho's eyes, in Minho's eyes, in Yuna's eyes. They were not bluffing. They would destroy his entire empire to protect their single world, because that is who humans were. They would burn everything to keep what they loved safe. Varrock raised his hand. Everyone watched. "Deactivate the weapon," he said quietly. The planet killer powered down. Across the galaxy, billions of beings let out a breath they did not know they were holding. "All ships," Varrock continued, his voice filled with bitter defeat. "Retreat from human space." The Dominion fleet turned and began to withdraw. Less than 1,000 ships remained from the Grand Armada. They limped away from Sol System, leaving behind the wreckage of their pride. Ambassador Suben spoke one final time. Her gentle face was calm, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. "To the Dominion and to all who watch, this is humanity's final declaration. We have placed a beacon at the edge of our territory. It carries a message for any who might think about attacking us in the future." The beacon activated. Its message blazed across every frequency. In every language, Earth's final order to the Dominion. Do not cross into Terran space. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is a promise. The people of Earth, the message would repeat forever. A warning. A reminder. A promise. In the days that followed, the galaxy changed. Other species that had been conquered by the Dominion began to stir. They had seen a small civilization stand against the greatest power in the galaxy and win. If humans could do it, maybe they could too. Rebellions began spreading like fire. The Dominion, weakened and humiliated, could not stop them all. Admiral Taiho stood on a balcony on Earth, looking at the blue sky. His arm was in a sling. His face still bore the marks of battle, but he was smiling. Captain Yuna walked up beside him. "What happens now?" she asked. Taiho was quiet for a moment. "We rebuild. We grow stronger. And we prepare. Prepare for what? For whatever comes next." He looked at her. "The galaxy knows who we are now. Some will fear us. Some will hate us. And some will come to us for help." As if to prove his words, a message arrived that afternoon. A small species called the Velour had escaped from Dominion territory. They had nowhere to go. They were begging for protection. General Minho read the message and sighed. "We are not ready to protect others. We barely survived ourselves." Dr. Hannah spoke up. "If not us, then who?" Minho thought about that. He remembered all the species that had fallen before the Dominion, all the civilizations that had been erased, all the people who had no one to protect them. "Fine," he said finally. "Tell them they can come. Tell them Earth will protect them." Ambassador Subin smiled. "This is who we are becoming. Not conquerors, not rulers, protectors." Lieutenant Jiho, now walking with a cane, but alive and healing, watched the first Valori refugee ships enter Earth's orbit. Small beings with golden eyes looked down at the blue planet with hope in their hearts, hope that they had not felt in generations. Jiho thought about everything that had happened, the battles, the losses, the sacrifices. He thought about his friends who had died, about the colonies that had burned. It had all been worth it, because now, when species across the galaxy looked at the stars, they did not just see darkness. They saw a light. A single blue world that had refused to kneel. A species that had looked death in the face and laughed. They saw hope. Admiral. Taiho spoke the final words of the war in a ceremony that was broadcast across all of human space. "We fought this war not because we wanted to. We fought because we had to. We fought because no one else would. We fought because that is what humans do. We protect. We survive. We endure. He raised his fist to the sky. They called us primitives. They called us weak. They said we would fall. But we are still here. And we always will be, the crowd roared. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, the beacon at the edge of Terran territory continued to broadcast its message: do not cross into Terran space. This is a promise. The end.